Please welcome our senior senator, Lindsey. If you were to identify the worst problem from a national security perspective, what is it? And then I'll have a follow-up question based on their topics.
Okay. Well, there's really two components to this. The nightmare from hell is an Iranian nuclear program, because you're going to create a nuclear arms race in the Mideast. The Arabs are not going to accept a nuclear capability in the hands of the Shia Persians. So the number one threat is the marriage of a weapon of mass destruction with a radical Islamic organization that would use it. 3,000 of us died on 9/11 only because they could not find a way to kill more of us. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
So the nightmare that I worry about is a nuclear, chemical, or biological weapon falling into the hands of an organization that would actually use it. The Iranian nuclear deal would be my top priority to set it aside and get you a better one. Because what we've done is we've given the Ayatollah $100 billion of new money without any requirement that he change his behavior. 5 years from now, they can buy more weapons. In 8 years, they can build a missile, ICBM. And in 15, they have a pathway to a bomb, even if they don't cheat. That is a formulation that I think would throw the world into chaos. Why President Obama thinks this is a good deal is beyond me. During the negotiations, the Iranians toppled 4 Arab governments friendly to us. Yemen is a hotbed of terrorism. The Houthis, backed by Yemen, drove out the pro-American government in Yemen, and now we've lost eyes and ears on Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, the second most lethal Sunni terrorist organization only to ISIL. Iran, during the negotiations, destabilized the Mideast. They've killed 400 to 500 Americans with copper-tipped IEDs, and we took all that off the table as we negotiated with their nuclear program. So what would I do? I'd get you a better deal. I'd go on the offense when it came to ISIL. I would go from 3,500 troops in Iraq to 10,000, which would give us a capability we don't enjoy today. A couple of Army aviation battalions, American attack helicopters flown by American pilots, special forces to kill ISIL leadership morning, noon, and night. When it comes to the Syria, which is hell on earth, I'd form a regional army of people in the region who are threatened by ISIL like we are. They would pay for this war because we paid for the last two. 90% of the army would be regional forces, 10% would be us. We'd go in on the ground, we'd pull the caliphate up by its roots, and we'd hold the territory. Those two threats have to be dealt with. A bad deal with Iran and a growing threat from ISIL. And finally, Tim, you can't do any of that if you don't rebuild your military. Priority number one is to set aside these defense cuts and rebuild our military.
Susan Colvin of Myrtle Beach has a question about abortion. A, your position, and B, perhaps if you could flesh out a little bit the whole issue around the pain-capable legislation that you sponsored that did not make its way through the Senate.
I have legislation sponsored by Tim Scott that would take off the table abortion on demand at 20 weeks. There are children who have actually been born at 20 weeks who are healthy today. But the theory of the case is a bit different. Under Roe v. Wade, it says once the child is viable medically, the government can protect the unborn. Look how science has changed from 1973 to now. As a pro-life senator, I want to challenge the system at every turn, smartly. I don't want to run somebody down who's pro-choice. I want to try to enlighten them as to why I'm pro-life. What good comes from aborting a baby at 20 weeks? Does that make us a better nation? Don't you think that's a practice that America needs to get away from, being a humane, decent group of people? We got 54 votes. Our pain-capable bill, we're going to do it less than 12 years. And here's why we are banning abortions at 20 weeks. Not because the baby is viable, even though we know some have lived. It's because at 20 weeks, the doctor can't operate on the baby without anesthesia. Medical science has advanced so far that we now know that in the 5th month, the baby feels excruciating pain. So that's why you have to provide anesthesia to save the baby's life. Here's the question. If you have to provide anesthesia to save the baby's life because they feel so much pain, Is it right to abort that baby by crushing their skull? No. The answer is no.
How do you bring the country together with an aspirational message about the future of this nation?
I think the Democratic Party has missed an opportunity in the last 6.5, soon to be 8 years, to change America in a positive way. I really, honest to God, believe I can win this election if I'm our nominee, simply because I've walked in the shoes of the average American more than they have. I think I understand the country better than they do. And I do know this: nobody is ready to be Commander-in-Chief more than I am. Thank you.